The desert secret. The sandstorm came without warning, transforming the Saharan afternoon into a writhing wall of golden particles. Dr. Rania Hassan pressed her goggles tighter against her face, the specialized equipment barely keeping the stinging sand at bay. Her research team had scattered to their tents, but she remained, transfixed by the readings on her quantum resonance scanner. Dr. Hassan, you need to get inside. Jamal Farouk, her senior research assistant, fought against the wind to reach her. His voice barely carried over the storm's howl. The equipment can't handle these conditions. But Rania barely heard him. The scanner's display showed impossible energy signatures pulsing beneath the dunes, patterns that defied every natural explanation. She'd spent 15 years studying archaeological anomalies across North Africa, but nothing had prepared her for this. 3 minutes, she shouted back, adjusting the scanner's frequency. The readings grew stronger, forming a distinct geometric pattern that shouldn't exist this deep in the desert. There's something down there, Jamal. Something big. The storm intensified, but Rania stood her ground, protected by her environmental suit. The scanner's data streamed directly to her neural interface, painting a picture of what lay beneath, a massive structure, perfectly symmetrical, buried under centuries of sand. Its energy signature matched nothing in human records. When the storm finally passed, leaving the desert reshaped in its wake, Rania's team emerged to find her already setting up the heavy-duty scanning equipment. The sun cast long shadows across the dunes, and in the distance, heat mirages danced above the sand. "Everyone, gather round," she called, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The team assembled, Jamal, their geologist Dr. Yuki Tanaka, quantum physicist Dr. Marcus Reynolds, and their security chief, Zara Patel. "What we found here isn't just another lost city or forgotten tomb. The energy signatures suggest technology far beyond anything humanity has ever encountered." Dr. Tanaka studied the holographic projection of the scan results, her expression skeptical. "These readings suggest a structure at least 50,000 years old, but look at the precision of these angles. This level of geometric perfection wasn't possible until modern times." "Unless," Marcus interjected, his eyes wide behind his glasses, "it wasn't built by human hands at all." The team fell silent, the implication hanging heavy in the air. Rania activated the ground-penetrating radar, revealing more details of the structure below. The pyramid surface was covered in patterns that resembled circuit boards more than hieroglyphics, and at its heart, something pulsed with energy. "We need to inform the authorities," Zara said, her hand unconsciously moving to the pistol at her hip. "This kind of discovery needs to be properly contained and studied." Rania shook her head. "Not yet. We've all seen how governments handle unusual discoveries. They'll lock this place down, bury it in bureaucracy, and we'll never learn the truth." She looked at each team member in turn. "We have 72 hours before our next scheduled check-in. That's enough time to do initial surveys and document everything we find. After that, we'll make it public, too public to cover up." As night fell, they set up a perimeter of sensors and lights around their base camp. The equipment hummed softly, monitoring the strange energy emissions from below. Rania sat in her tent, reviewing the data, when Jamal brought her a cup of coffee. "The others are worried," he said, sitting across from her. "And honestly, so am I. Whatever's down there, it's been hidden for a reason." Rania looked up from her screens. "Every major discovery in history came with risks, Jamal. But think about what this could mean: proof that we're not alone in the universe, technology that could revolutionize our understanding of physics, history, everything." The night wore on, and the desert wind whispered secrets across the dunes. In the darkness, the sand seemed to glow faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the buried structure below. The team took shifts monitoring the equipment, watching as the energy signatures grew stronger with each passing hour. Just before dawn, Rania's neural interface buzzed with an alert. The scanner had detected movement within the structure, subtle shifts in energy patterns that suggested something was changing. She rushed out of her tent, nearly colliding with Marcus. "You need to see this," he said, leading her to the main monitoring station. The holographic display showed the pyramid's energy signature intensifying, forming new patterns. "It's like it's waking up." The ground beneath their feet trembled slightly, and in the pre-dawn darkness, lines of light began to appear in the sand, tracing the outline of something massive. The team gathered, watching in awe as the desert itself seemed to come alive. "Whatever we've found," Rania said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I don't think it was meant to stay buried forever. We're standing on the edge of the greatest discovery in human history, and we're about to take the first step into something far bigger than ourselves." The sun began to rise, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. The ancient structure beneath the sand continued its mysterious awakening, and with it, humanity's understanding of its place in the universe was about to change forever. Beneath the sands. The morning sun had barely cleared the horizon when the sand began to shift. The team watched in stunned silence as geometric patterns emerged on the desert floor, glowing with an inner light that pulsed in perfect synchronization. Dr. Yuki Tanaka's instruments were going haywire, registering electromagnetic fluctuations that defied explanation. "The energy signatures are forming a pattern," Marcus called out, his fingers dancing across his holographic interface. It's creating a path." The glowing lines converged at a point about 50 meters from their camp, forming what appeared to be a perfect dodecahedron in the sand. Rania approached the formation carefully, her scanner providing real-time data through her neural link. The temperature around the geometric pattern was dropping rapidly, creating a microclimate that shouldn't have been possible in the desert heat. "Zara, Security Protocol Alpha," she commanded, and their security chief immediately began deploying automated defense drones around the perimeter. "Jamal, get the containment field ready. We don't know what we're dealing with here." The sand within the dodecahedron began to sink, forming a perfect spiral staircase that descended into darkness. Cool air wafted up from below, carrying a faint metallic scent that none of them could identify. "This architecture," Jamal murmured, "it's responding to our presence. Look at how the steps are perfectly sized for human use." He was right, the stairs were too precise, too convenient to be anything but intentional. Rania made her decision. "We're going down. Yuki, Marcus, I need you monitoring from up here. Jamal, Zara, you're with me. Full environmental suits and every sensor we've got." They descended the spiral staircase, their boots making no sound on the strange metallic surface. The walls around them were covered in what appeared to be circuitry, but it flowed like liquid metal, constantly shifting and rearranging itself. "The material composition is impossible," Jamal said, running his scanner over the walls. "It's simultaneously solid and fluid, and it's maintaining a constant temperature despite the thermal differences." Zara kept her hand near her weapon, professional instincts on high alert. "Movement ahead," she whispered, as their lights revealed a vast chamber opening up before them. The chamber was enormous, its ceiling lost in shadows above. But what caught their attention was the central structure, a floating obelisk that rotated slowly in mid-air, covered in the same flowing patterns as the walls. Around it, holographic displays flickered to life, showing star charts and mathematical equations that made Marcus gasp over their comm link. "Those stellar configurations," his voice crackled through their earpieces, "they're showing star systems that shouldn't be visible from Earth. Some of these stars don't even exist anymore." Rania approached the obelisk, her heart pounding. As she got closer, the patterns on its surface began to respond, flowing toward her like water drawn to a magnet. "It's some kind of interface," she breathed. "It's trying to communicate." Suddenly, the chamber filled with light and a voice echoed through their minds, not sound, but pure thought translated into understanding. "Archive access granted. Welcome, inheritors." The team froze as the obelisk's surface transformed into a three-dimensional display, showing images that defied comprehension, vast cities among the stars, ships that sailed through the fabric of spacetime, and beings that shifted between forms of energy and matter at will. This is a library, Rania realized, her voice filled with awe. A repository of knowledge left behind by whoever they were. She reached out toward the obelisk, and the images responded to her movement, shifting and changing. But their wonder was interrupted by a warning from above. Dr. Hassan, Marcus's voice was urgent, we're detecting multiple vehicles approaching from the north. Military signatures. Someone must have detected the energy surge. How long? Zara demanded, already moving to secure their position. 20 minutes, maybe less. Rania worked quickly, interfacing with the obelisk through her neural link, trying to download as much data as she could. The information flooded into her mind, fragments of an ancient history, warnings of something vast and terrible, and coordinates to other sites like this one, scattered across the planet. We need to move, Zara insisted. Once the military arrives, this place will be locked down tight. But Rania couldn't tear herself away. The obelisk was showing her something specific now, a sequence of events that made her blood run cold. This isn't just a library, she said. It's a warning. Something's coming, something they couldn't stop. The chamber trembled slightly, and new patterns began appearing on the walls. The alien intelligence seemed to sense their urgency, downloading compressed data packets directly into their neural interfaces. We've got company. Marcus shouted over the comm, multiple helicopters on approach. You need to get out now. Jamal grabbed Rania's arm. We have to go. We can come back once we understand what we've already found. With reluctance, Rania broke contact with the obelisk. As they rushed back toward the spiral staircase, the chamber began to seal itself, the liquid metal walls flowing like mercury to protect its secrets. They emerged into the harsh desert sunlight just as the helicopters appeared on the horizon. The geometric patterns in the sand were already fading, the entrance sealing itself as if it had never existed. Everyone back to camp, Rania ordered. Download your data to the secure servers and wipe your local storage. They can't know how much we've discovered. She looked back at where the entrance had been, knowing that what they'd found was just the beginning. As military vehicles approached across the dunes, Rania quickly sent one final encrypted message to a trusted colleague at the University of Cairo. Attached were coordinates to 5 other locations around the world, each marked with the same energy signature they'd detected here. The race to uncover the truth had begun, and they were already running out of time. The awakening. The military convoy arrived in a cloud of dust, surrounding their camp with practiced efficiency. Rania and her team stood their ground as a stern-faced colonel stepped out of the lead vehicle, his uniform bearing insignias that none of them recognized. Colonel Viktor Petrov, United Nations Special Operations Division, he announced, surveying their camp with sharp eyes. This site is now under UN jurisdiction. Dr. Hassan, we need to talk. Rania felt the weight of the downloaded data in her neural interface, carefully encrypted and hidden behind layers of scientific research files. Of course, Colonel. Though I should mention our discovery is already documented and secured off-site. The Colonel's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Let's speak privately. He gestured toward their main tent. Inside, Petrov revealed more than Rania expected. We've been monitoring sites like this for decades, Doctor. You're not the first to find one, but you're the first to activate it successfully. He pulled up a holographic display showing similar structures detected around the world. What we need to know is what you saw down there. Before Rania could respond, Yuki burst into the tent. Dr. Hassan, the energy signatures, they're spiking across all known locations. Something's happening. They rushed outside to find the desert air shimmering with aurora-like lights. The buried structure was pulsing again, but this time the energy patterns were different, more urgent. Marcus's instruments were detecting synchronized activations at every site they'd been given coordinates for. It's some kind of network, Jamal explained, reading the data streams. They're all connecting, sharing information. Suddenly, every screen and neural interface within a mile radius activated simultaneously. A message appeared, written in flowing symbols that translated themselves as they watched. The harbinger approaches. The network awakens. Time remaining, 15 planetary rotations. Colonel Petrov's composure cracked slightly. This is happening at every site. Moscow, Beijing, Washington, they're all seeing the same message. Rania connected to the network through her neural interface, and this time, the alien consciousness reached back. Images flooded her mind, vast beings of living energy crossing between galaxies, ancient civilizations rising and falling, and a terrible force consuming everything in its path. They were guardians, she gasped, struggling to process the information. This network, it's an early warning system. They built it to protect younger civilizations from something they called the Void Hunters. The ground trembled as new sections of the pyramid emerged from the sand, panels sliding apart to reveal technology that defied comprehension. Zara's security drones detected movement from deep underground, something was assembling itself. "Doctor," Marcus called out, his voice shaking, "you need to see this." He projected a larger hologram showing astronomical data. "There's a disturbance at the edge of our solar system. Something massive just dropped out of FTL travel." Colonel Petrov was already on his comm unit, issuing orders in multiple languages. All sites are reporting the same activity. Whatever these structures are, they're preparing for something. Jamal worked frantically at his console, translating more of the alien data. The network isn't just a warning system, it's a defense platform. But it needs something to function, it needs operators. The alien consciousness touched their minds again, this time with clear purpose. Images showed humans and aliens working together, using the network to protect their worlds. The message was clear, they were being recruited. That's why it had to be discovered now, Rania realized. The network knew they were coming. It's been waiting for a species capable of understanding and using its technology. She turned to Petrov. "Colonel, we need to coordinate with the other sites. Whatever's coming, we have 15 days to prepare." The colonel studied her for a moment before nodding. "I'll contact the Security Council. But you and your team are our only link to this technology. You'll need to train others quickly." As if responding to their conversation, the pyramid projected a massive holographic display visible for miles. It showed the solar system, a blinking red dot marking the approach of something massive, something hungry. "Send word to the other sites," Rania commanded, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Tell them to begin interface training immediately. Humanity just joined a war that's been raging since before our species existed." The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the transformed landscape. The pyramid hummed with power, its systems fully awakened after millennia of sleep. Around the world, other teams were experiencing the same revelations, the same urgent call to action. Rania looked at her team, Jamal analyzing data streams, Yuki coordinating with other scientists worldwide, Marcus mapping the approaching threat, and Zara organizing security protocols. They had 15 days to learn how to use technology billions of years beyond their understanding, to prepare for an enemy they barely comprehended. The alien consciousness whispered in their minds once more, "The time of testing approaches. Your species must prove worthy of the mantle we left behind." As night fell over the Sahara, lights from the pyramid pierced the darkness, reaching toward the stars like ancient beacons relit. Humanity's greatest challenge was approaching, and their only allies were the echoes of a long-dead civilization and their mysterious legacy. Time's warning. 10 days had transformed the Sahara site into a technological fortress. The pyramid now stood fully revealed, its liquid metal surface constantly shifting as it processed data from the global network. Scientists and military personnel from 20 nations worked in synchronized chaos, racing against a countdown that flashed on every screen, 5 days remaining. Rania stood in the central command chamber, her neural interface humming with constant updates. The alien technology had changed them all, Thin lines of bioluminescent circuitry now traced patterns beneath their skin, a physical manifestation of their connection to the network. "Status report," she called out, her voice carrying across the chamber. Jamal looked up from his floating console, dark circles under his eyes. "The Beijing site has successfully activated their defensive matrix. That makes 6 fully operational nodes." He paused, rubbing his temples. "But we're still struggling to understand the weapon systems." The holographic display at the chamber's center showed Earth surrounded by a web of energy connections linking all 7 sites. But it also showed something else, a massive distortion approaching from beyond Neptune, leaving a trail of dead space in its wake. "Dr. Hassan." Marcus burst into the chamber, his usual composed demeanor shattered. "The long-range sensors, they've picked up something. You need to see this." The main display shifted, focusing on the approaching anomaly. What they saw defied comprehension. It wasn't a ship or fleet in any conventional sense. Instead, it appeared to be a living void, a patch of universe where natural laws simply ceased to function. Colonel Petrov entered, accompanied by Dr. Amara Okafor, the brilliant physicist who'd been flown in from the Nigerian site. "We've lost contact with the Kuiper Belt Research Station," Petrov announced grimly. "Last transmission showed some kind of dimensional tear." Rania accessed the Defense Network's archives, searching for similar encounters. The alien consciousness responded, showing her visions of worlds consumed, entire civilizations erased from existence. The Void Hunters didn't just destroy, they unmade reality itself. "There's something else," Yuki called from her station. "The network's detecting smaller tears appearing in Earth's atmosphere. They're testing our defenses." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the complex. Security feeds showed a shimmer in the air above the desert, a spot where stars simply vanished. Then something emerged, a tendril of pure darkness that seemed to drink in light itself. "Initiate contact protocol," Rania commanded. The pyramid responded instantly, generating a containment field around the anomaly. The tendril probed the energy barrier, its movement suggesting an alien intelligence. Then it spoke, not in words but in concepts that burned themselves into their minds: consumption, inevitability, submission. "My God," Amara whispered, "it's not just sensing us. It's tasting our reality." The containment field fluctuated as the creature tested its strength. Zara's security teams moved into position, armed with weapons reverse-engineered from the ancient archives. The air crackled with potential energy. "They're scanning our defenses," Marcus realized, analyzing the data streams. "This isn't an attack, it's reconnaissance." The tendril suddenly withdrew, the tear sealing itself with a sound like reality sighing. But the encounter left them shaken, fully aware of what they faced. Rania accessed the command interface, her consciousness merging with the pyramid systems. The alien archives opened to her, revealing more about their enemy. The Void Hunters were ancient, perhaps as old as the universe itself. They consumed dimensions, feeding on the fundamental forces that held reality together. "We need to accelerate the training," she announced. "Everyone with neural compatibility needs to be linked to the network within 48 hours. We can't wait any longer." Colonel Petrov nodded grimly. "I'll inform the other sites." "But Dr. Hassan, the compatibility rate is only 30%. Most of humanity can't interface with this technology." "Then we work with what we have," she replied, her voice steady despite her fear. "The chosen few will have to fight for everyone." As night fell, more tears appeared in the sky, each one a little closer to Earth. The network hummed with power as it tracked each intrusion, learning, adapting. In the command chamber, Rania and her team worked tirelessly, pushing the limits of both the technology and themselves. "There's a pattern to their probes," Jamal observed, mapping the tiers' locations. "They're methodically testing every aspect of our defenses, looking for weaknesses." "And preparing us," Rania added softly. The alien consciousness had shown her the truth: the Void Hunters didn't just attack. They educated their prey, forced them to evolve, to fight back. It was all part of their feeding process. Through the neural network, she could feel the other sites preparing, each one a beacon of resistance against the approaching darkness. Humanity had never been more united, more focused on a single goal. But would it be enough? The countdown continued its relentless march, for days, 23 hours remaining. Above them, the stars seemed to flicker as reality itself prepared for war. Dawn of tomorrow. The final day arrived with a sky that no longer looked like Earth's. Reality rippled like water, dimensional tiers appearing and closing in a deadly dance above every major city. The pyramid's energy field cast an ethereal dome over the Sahara site, one of 7 such barriers around the world. Rania stood at the central interface, her consciousness merged deeply with the network. The alien technology had changed them all dramatically. Those compatible with the system now bore intricate patterns of light beneath their skin, their minds expanded beyond human limits. Multiple breaches detected, Marcus announced, his voice tight. The Void Hunters are moving into position around the planet. Through the network, Rania could feel them, vast intelligences that existed in dimensions beyond human comprehension. The probe attacks had stopped. This was the real assault. All sites, battle stations, Colonel Petrov commanded. Initiate synchronized defense protocols. The pyramid surged with power as similar structures around the world activated their weapons systems. Jamal monitored the energy readings, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. The network is at full capacity. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now. The first attack came without warning. The sky split open like a wound, and something massive began to emerge, a being of such alien geometry that looking at it caused physical pain. Reality warped around it, matter and energy breaking down in its presence. Defensive pattern alpha. Rania shouted. Energy beams lanced from the pyramid's apex, meeting similar attacks from the other sites. The combined power formed a lattice of light around the planet, temporarily holding the creature at bay. But more tiers were opening. Through the neural interface, Rania could see reports from around the world. Beijing's team was fighting a monster that moved backward through time. The Australian site faced a being that turned probability itself into a weapon. The barriers won't hold, Yuki called out, her hands shaking as she read the data. They're attacking the fundamental forces holding our dimension together. Rania delved deeper into the alien archives, searching desperately for answers. The consciousness responded, showing her something the ancient builders had hidden away, a last resort weapon. Dr. Hassan. Dr. Amara's voice cut through her concentration. The dimensional stabilizers are failing. We have minutes at most. Rania made her decision. Everyone linked to the network, listen carefully. The builders left us one final option. We can create a dimensional lock, seal our reality so tightly that nothing can break through. But there's a cost, Jamal finished, reading the same data. The energy required, it would burn out everyone connected to the system. Not just burn out, Rania corrected grimly. It would consume us. Transform us into pure energy to power the lock. The command chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Through their neural links, similar conversations were happening at every site. Thousands of compatible humans, all facing the same choice. A violent tremor shook the pyramid. Above them, the Void Hunters were breaking through, reality crumbling before their attack. Cities around the world reported impossible phenomena as spacetime began to unravel. We don't have time to debate, Zara shouted over the chaos. If we don't act now, everyone dies anyway. Rania looked at her team, Jamal, who'd stood beside her from the beginning, Yuki, whose brilliant mind had helped decode so many mysteries, Marcus, whose calculations had saved them countless times, and Zara, their unwavering protector. Through the network, she felt others making the same choice. The compatible humans at each site, accepting their fate to save billions. Initialize the lock, she commanded, her voice steady. All sites, synchronize your power matrices. The pyramid's energy signature changed, harmonizing with its counterparts around the world. Those connected to the network felt a new presence, the combined consciousness of humanity's chosen defenders, merging into something greater than themselves. It was an honor, Jamal said softly, reaching for Rania's hand as their bodies began to glow with internal light. The Void Hunters sensed the change, their attacks intensifying as they recognized the threat. But it was too late. The network had already begun the transformation. Rania felt herself dissolving, her consciousness expanding to encompass the entire defense grid. She was simultaneously everywhere and nowhere, existing as pure energy alongside thousands of others. Their combined power surged through the ancient machinery, creating a new kind of barrier, not just around Earth, but around reality itself. The Void Hunters screamed in frequencies that shattered mountains, but they could not stop what had begun. The dimensional lock snapped into place with the force of 1,000 suns, sealing Earth's reality behind walls they could never breach. In their final moments of individual consciousness, Rania and the others witnessed their victory. The Void Hunters, unable to maintain their presence in sealed spacetime, were forced to retreat. The dimensional tears closed one by one, reality healing itself. The pyramids remained, but changed. They now pulsed with the energy of those who had sacrificed themselves, their consciousness preserved in the network. Not dead, but transformed into humanity's eternal guardians. Years later, people would look up at the strange auroras that danced around the pyramid sites and tell their children about the heroes who became light to save the world. And in the network, watching over the reality they had protected, thousands of transformed humans continued their vigil, ready to defend Earth against whatever threat might next emerge from the darkness between dimensions. For they had learned the greatest truth, that humanity's strength lay not in the technology they wielded, but in their willingness to sacrifice everything for those they loved. The end.